What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Friday Night SmackDown review for Friday, October 23rd, 2020. I am Graham Jason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. And we had another pretty quality edition of SmackDown on Friday night. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. Maybe not as much as the season premiere from last week, but definitely more so than Raw, which on Monday night was a fucking garbage fire. It was a shit show. I did not like Raw much at all on Monday. It wasn't the worst show of the year, which surprisingly, we have had worse shows, worse episodes of Raw in 2020. But I thought SmackDown was actually a really good show this week. So we'll talk about it. We'll break it down right here, right now. I'll mention it right off the bat, because I just kind of go off the notes that I made in my review, written review, right now on WrestleRant.com. Read it right now. I kind of go off the written notes that I wrote in that review. But before I forget, I'll mention it right now. A lot of this episode did contain footage of the Law and Otis trial. That's actually what they called it. They couldn't air the dun-dun, like the noise that you would usually hear in Law & Order, probably because it would have been copyright or whatever. But what they went for instead, their spoof of Law & Order, not exactly quite as great as the Fashion Police from many years ago on SmackDown. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. I really did not mind it. Maybe I was missing something. I could see why people wouldn't like it. If you did not enjoy the Law and Otis segments on SmackDown, I would not blame you at all. And I will be the first one to admit, this whole Otis Mr. Money in the Bank bullshit has been completely terrible. Not just him as Mr. Money in the Bank, as I like Otis, but how they've handled him, the whole lawsuit over the briefcase. It's dumb, it's dumb, it's dumb. It absolutely cheapens the briefcase. I'm not arguing that whatsoever. What I'm saying is the SmackDown segments themselves from Friday night, which I was thoroughly expecting for them to be incredibly stupid. And maybe you did find them dumb. For me personally, though, I didn't mind it. I thought a lot of them were, a bit better than expected. It wasn't comedy gold by any means, but I enjoyed it. The same way, and again, a lot of people will not agree, and I completely understand if you don't, a lot of the same people, much in the same way that a lot of the same people did not like the Dinner Debonair from AEW Dynamite on a Wednesday night with MJF and Chris Jericho, the musical steak dinner shit. Listen, did I think it was the greatest thing I've ever seen? Absolutely not. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked it for what it was. I don't really want to see it be done again. I don't think it would work with anyone else. And it's kind of the same thing with a segment like this. Otis is entertaining enough. Heavy Machinery is entertaining enough. Miz and Morrison are kind of comedy characters anyway. And yes, they're Raw guys on a SmackDown show. I fucking get it. But it wasn't in the ring. It wasn't in a backstage segment. They weren't even really at SmackDown. It was more of like a court, like a wrestler's court type of thing, So I didn't really mind the whole, the brand split rules are ruined. I kind of understood that with the whole Liv and Ruby thing on Monday. They should not have been on Raw this week. I thought that was stupid. But these guys appearing on SmackDown didn't really bother me, just because it's kind of its own entity, But anyway, the segments themselves, I didn't mind them. I thought they were funny to a certain extent. I didn't love them, but I thought the cameos from Ron Simmons, JBL, Teddy Long were all very well done. It was, it was what it was. I didn't hate it the way that I expected it to. Would I watch them again? Probably not. But this company has done far worse, I can assure you of that, in 2020, specifically, especially on SmackDown, when it comes to like the Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, some of those segments weren't the greatest. The Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, King Corbin shit was absolutely terrible earlier this year. The Miz and Morrison Strowman segments from earlier this year were also not the greatest. The karaoke segment probably takes the cake as the worst thing I have seen all year on WWE TV, as far as segments are concerned. So I can assure you, this was nowhere near as bad as those. So I enjoyed them for what they were. The actual show kicked off with the KO show. Kevin Owens welcoming on Daniel Bryan. Now, we have seen Owens and Bryan interact before. I don't know if we've ever gotten a singles match between the two before. I feel like we haven't. But obviously, Bryan's first match back in WWE, back in the ring, was 2 years ago at WrestleMania against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, teaming up with Shane McMahon. They briefly feuded going into Fastlane 2019 when Owens came back as a babyface. Bryan was a heel. It was supposed to be Bryan and Owens straight up at the pay-per-view. And then Mustafa Ali got added, so we never got Owens and Bryan one-on-one. And it was still a really fun match, but we never got Owens and Bryan one-on-one. Now, I was really hoping here that we wouldn't get Owens turning on Bryan to set off a feud between the two. I do not want to see that. How many times has Owens turned on someone between the New Day, Sami Zayn, Chris Jericho, and probably more people I'm not thinking of? I don't need to see another alliance teased only for Owens to turn on Bryan. I want to see Owens get a real run as a babyface. He's been a babyface now for the better part of the past year, probably over that by this point. He should get a real run as a face. He's done great work as a face. He's a better heel, I get that, but to go down that same predictable road after he's been saying now for weeks and months, oh, I don't want to turn on people, I'm trying to be better, and then he turns on Bryan anyway. I don't want to see that. Thankfully, it doesn't look like they're going in that direction. They teased a tag team here between the two, and again, another direction I'm glad they're not going in. Because Bryan's done the tag team thing. I know Owens has said he's won all these championships and never the tag team titles. Bryan, as entertaining as that would be, I don't think Bryan is the right person for that role. Maybe Sami Zayn. If Zayn went back to being a babyface, I could totally see those two chasing the tag team titles. But him and Bryan, I feel like Bryan has unfinished business in the Intercontinental title picture. He can go for the Universal Championship at some point. He has a feud with Rollins waiting for him eventually. I don't really want to see Owens and Bryan right now. So I thought their interaction, though, was very good here. That brought out Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, the Street Profits, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, which, of course, predictably set up an 8-person tag team match that saw the babyface team of Owens, Bryan, and the Street Profits beat Ziggler, Roode, Nakamura, and Cesaro. Fun way to kick off the show, the KO show, and with the subsequent 8-man tag team match. I thought it was entertaining enough. I enjoyed this. So we had the debut on the blue brand of Bianca Belair, who we got a vignette for last week and another vignette for this week. And the vignettes, by the way, are very well done. Probably better than what we were seeing on, definitely better than what we were seeing on Raw prior to her being drafted, where she was like playing a card game with someone, like her girlfriends or whatever. And the whole point was, oh, I'm smarter than you. I don't know. I just thought they were a little goofy. I appreciated the effort to get Bianca over and to kind of showcase what she's all about. The way they did it, though, I thought was a little goofy. Kind of that dumb vignette style they kind of do. The video package they gave her here, though, I thought was great. It's like a minute long, maybe not even, maybe 30 seconds, set to a real song and showing off all her accomplishments and athletic abilities and stuff like that. So she comes out. The match that she has with Zelina Vega here is not the greatest, mind you, but it's exactly what it needs to be. Belair just straight up squashes this woman. Vega was the perfect person for this spot for a few reasons. One, Vega, I like Vega a lot. She has way more value as a manager than she does as a wrestler. I'm far from the only person who has said that. I'm far from the only person who will continue to say that, because I think breaking her away from Andrade was a really dumb decision. I know they want to kind of expand the women's division, but they have a lot of women as it is right now where they don't need Vega in the ring. So it doesn't really matter to me if she gets, straight the fuck up, squashed here by Bianca Belair. It didn't really bother me at all. I thought she was the perfect person for that role. And also due to the fact that they have history from Raw, which I think the commentators alluded to, from a couple of months ago when Vega, poisoned Belair's husband, Montez Ford. So I thought this was great. The match itself, again, wasn't the smoothest encounter I've ever seen, but it was exactly what it needed to be. Belair goes over. That KOD finisher, I don't know if it was the delivery of it here or Vegas selling or both, but it looked fucking fantastic. It looked really, really good here. So props to them for that. Lars Sullivan also got the vignette treatment before coming out for a match with Shorty G, which went about the way that you would expect it to. A 2-minute squash, Sullivan just killing Shorty here. And I didn't say his real name, and that's for a reason, so let me get to that in a moment. But Sullivan, again, straight up squashes Shorty G. G sells well for the offense of Sullivan. Sullivan goes over. It is what it is, okay? So, Shorty G gets interviewed beforehand. Why, I have no idea. I mean, the promo was completely pointless, but then it became clear afterward why he was interviewed. He was doing one of those dumb rah-rah speeches. Oh, if I could do it, you could do it. Rise over size, blah, 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 blah. All this other dumb bullshit, okay? So after he gets beat up, just gets beat up for 2 minutes by Lars Sullivan, he gets interviewed again by Kayla Braxton at ringside. And she goes, oh, how are you feeling? How the fuck do you think he's feeling? What a dumb question, But I'm expecting him to be like, oh, I'll battle back and all this other, dumb babyface verbiage. Instead, he just goes, I quit. And I'm like, holy shit, wow, what is this about? I know Austin Theory also, quote-unquote, quit earlier this week in NXT, which also he's not actually done. He'll be back in some form or fashion somewhere. But yeah, so he quits, and we're all like, everyone's like, what the fuck? So we come back to the show after commercial break. Great hook going into the break, by the way. We come back from the break, and Adam Pearce confronts Shorty G in the trainer's room. Because, again, he was just beat up by Lars Sullivan. So he's like, I'm just making sure I heard you correctly. Did you just say what I thought you just said? And he goes, yeah, I quit. I'm sick of this shit. He didn't say sick of this shit, but he basically goes, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of being short, all this other stuff, and telling people that they could do anything they want to do. No, they can't. There's only one person that can do all of that. An Olympian, a great athlete, a man who has an accolade list this long. A list of accolades that, stretches longer than you could ever imagine, that could do this or that or blah, blah, blah. And his name is Gable. Chad Gable. And I popped big after I heard that because thank God the Shorty G shit is in the past. I mean, better late than never. It should have never happened in the first place. The fact it went on for this long is an atrocity. It's been over a year now, almost exactly a year, since he was first officially labeled Shorty G on SmackDown. I think it was a year ago this weekend, or maybe last weekend, I don't remember. It was this month, though, that he started going by Shorty G. And we're all like, the fuck is this shit? Started coming out with, like, the Toon Squad basketball shorts, looking like a goof, losing all the time. No one can take this guy seriously. He's a great wrestler, saddled with a shitty gimmick. And thankfully, it's now over. I don't know if he's a face or a heel, probably a heel. But the talk about being an Olympian really gives me hope. Hopefully. I know this is WWE. I shouldn't instill a lot of faith in the company. Should hopefully give me some faith here that they will book him properly going forward. Maybe not as the next WWE champion, but as a solid mid-carder in a Kurt Angle-esque character. It's true. And Angle was such a great heel. I was reminded of that. I already knew that, obviously. But I was reminded of that watching that Broken Skull Sessions with Kurt from a month ago recently on the WWE Network, where they kind of showed his early work coming into the company and kind of boasting about being better than everyone because he's an Olympic athlete, America's hero, blah, blah, blah. And I really want to see, maybe not the exact same thing, but something similar from Chad Gable. If he's not going to be a babyface on his own, which I think already worked well. I mean, he was great in the King of the Ring tournament as a face. But if they really want to give this kid more character and more of a reason for people to care about him, then make him a heel. The size thing, who cares? Kurt Angle also was never the tallest guy. It doesn't matter. The talent is there. The guy it's not even like he's a great wrestler, but he doesn't have much of a character. Like, for example, Apollo Crews. I'm a big Apollo Crews fan. I can understand the criticisms regarding Crews and how he's a great wrestler, but in terms of character and just charisma, it's not there. I can kind of see that. With Gable, it is there. We have seen it before in NXT, even on the main roster. Again, the guy is very good in the ring, but the special thing about Gable is that he's also a great performer, entertainer. He is a lot like Kurt Angle. And for a second, I was hoping that he was going to say Kurt Angle and then bring back Kurt Angle as his manager. And honestly, I think even Kurt would be up for that. I don't know if Kurt has said that before. I feel like he has. But Kurt was interviewed a couple of months ago after reports came out that WWE actually wanted Kurt as Matt Riddle's manager, which isn't the worst fit. Honestly, that seems pretty cool, but I think Riddle can do well on his own, as can Chad Gable. But I think it wouldn't hurt for people to start taking Chad seriously if he had a manager like Kurt Angle. Now, granted, Darren Young, of all people, had a manager in Bob Backlund. That didn't really change his fortunes much. First of all, Kurt's a bit more relevant than Bob Backlund is, and I love Bob Backlund, but, Kurt Angle, to the casual viewer watching every week, already knows Kurt from his stint in the company from the last couple of years. Not only that, but Gable is worthy of this big push. Not to say that Darren Young wasn't, but Darren Young was like a fucking charisma vacuum compared to Chad Gable. So I'm really hoping this works, and it's not just anyway, even if he goes back to being a loser, an enhancement talent, a jobber on the show, as long as he gets rid of the dumb Shorty G crap, that is at least an improvement. So this is long overdue. I'm so glad we're getting Chad Gable back. We're not going to get that great theme music, the American Alpha theme music, because I know they hate CFO now. They're not using that music anymore. But this is a solid step in the right direction for Chad Gable. My only, request now that we got Chad Gable back, give me back Baron Corbin. I know he hasn't been on the show in recent weeks, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Baron Corbin, not this King Corbin shit. Both guys who came away from that King of the Ring tournament after their great matches together, worse off with worse names and worse gimmicks. How does that happen? I mean, come on, man. How does that happen, you know? So we got Chad Gable back. Give me back Baron Corbin. Ditch the king shit forever, please. So then we had I was going to say contract signing. It really wasn't a contract signing. It was Sasha Banks forcing Bayley to sign the contract for their SmackDown Women's Championship Hell in a Cell match on Sunday. I thought this was a great segment. The verbiage, the promos here from both women were really, really good. Banks showed some great intensity. I think the issue with the Sasha character right now is that I'm so torn on it because she really doesn't come across as likable at all. The only reason why we're getting this match is because Bayley turned on her. And now part of me likes that because I think Sasha is much better as a heel. She's been doing great work as a heel the last year, and I don't want to see her move away from that. So maybe they're just kind of turning her face without actually exhibiting face qualities, but she still comes across as unlikable. That's the problem. So, I don't know. I want to see her win at some point, and maybe not at Hell in a Cell specifically. I think she will win on Sunday. It's a tough thing because I don't want to see her go back to being the boring boss character that she was as a face, a couple of years ago. I just have no desire to see that. But if she stays this character, then she can't really be a babyface because she's not all that likable. So it's kind of, I'm torn, really, on Sasha Banks right now. But at least, as far as promos goes, as far as the promos are concerned, she's been doing really, really good work. And I think this was another example of that. She and Bayley, work very well together on the mic, in the ring, whatever. I still feel like this whole rivalry has been rushed, but I still thought this was a great way to lead into the match on Sunday. So this was exactly, again, what it kind of needed to be. Nonetheless, we move along here to Seth Rollins versus Murphy. And I thought this match was great. It was a really, really good match. They got a ton of time here, like at least two commercial breaks. They went about 17, 18 minutes, I feel like, almost close to 20 minutes. And it wasn't the main event. The main event segment was with Roman and Jey and Jimmy Uso actually coming back technically, which I'm not sure if he's cleared or not, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the last match on the show was Rollins and Murphy. As you would expect, these guys killed it. They went in there, had a really, really good match. Again, it was very entertaining. So the only thing that really took away from this, thankfully, no interference, no bullshit. That stuff came afterward with the Mysterios, and Aaliyah's back, by the way. Ray is still bringing his daughter to work. What an idiot. Dumbest Father of the Year award has got to go to Rey Mysterio. Why is this girl, 19, maybe 20 now, how is she still getting to the shows? She's not going on her own. She's traveling with Ray and Dominic. Why is she still allowed at the shows? I thought we fixed that problem when Ray and Dominic and Rollins and Murphy were drafted from Raw to SmackDown. Why is this feud still going on? Another thing, why wasn't this match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view tomorrow? I think we have 5 matches on tap. You could have very easily, don't get me wrong, it made for a great match on SmackDown, but you could have very easily hyped this up for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view on Sunday. I just don't understand. I really don't get it. So Murphy loses, that's fine. I really want to see Rollins, and I assume Rollins will be taking time off, as Becky's due with her baby fairly soon. I think by December, early December. Maybe Murphy lost here, but I really want to see Rollins put over Murphy on the way out. If he is going to be taking time off, at least for maybe a month. Murphy should go over Rollins in the end. I honestly can't remember the last singles match Rollins lost on WWE TV. I know Aleister Black beat him at one point. Maybe back in May or something like that. Maybe May or June or whatever. Other than that, though, I can't really think of a time that Rollins has lost. He beat Ray, he beat Dominic, he's beaten Murphy now. He's beaten a lot of people, so I feel like whoever beats him ultimately should benefit, and that should be Murphy, not Dominic. And Dominic's already gotten his shot multiple times. I don't need to see that match again. Ray wouldn't really benefit. I think Ray's good to go now. I read a report, I think from Dave Meltzer, indicating that he's about like 99% healthy. So if he isn't good to go now, he will be very soon, which is great. Great news after only getting hurt 2 months ago. But yeah, this was really, really good. The only issue with all of this is that the Aaliyah, Ray, and Dominic shit is still going on. So Aaliyah goes out after Rollins was kind of like berating and continuing to beat up Murphy afterwards. She went to go console Murphy. And this is well beyond the point of just being a friendship. Murphy kind of slid into her DMs, text messages a couple of weeks ago. The way that she was kind of touching him here, she didn't kiss him, but I was expecting it. I'm like, oh God, here we go. Maybe not this week, maybe next week. But the way she was kind of like touchy-feely with them here, and he wasn't like, hey, get away from me, you're 19. First of all, was weird. Second of all, was just, this is more than just being friends. Let's put it that way. Ray and Dominic can see that. but Ray is the idiot for continuing to bring his daughter to work. So really, who's the moron here? Who's the real heel in this scenario? You know? I think the storyline sucks. I've said that a million times. I'm not a fan of it. They should just fucking end it. I thought what we got last week with Murphy going after Rollins and, whatever. I thought what we got from them last week was great. This, now that Aaliyah's back in the picture, it's not that Aaliyah's bad or anything. Her acting isn't the greatest, but it's just that the sake of the story, the actual storyline itself sucks. It sucks. And there's really no salvaging it at this point, aside from just ending it. So we get to the final segment of the show, Roman Reigns revealing the consequences for the Hell in a Cell I Quit match with Jey Uso on Sunday. So before then, though, Roman was in the ring with Paul Heyman. We had Jey on the screen with a mask on, and viewers were probably wondering, why does he have a mask on and a hat on? So he's going back and forth with Roman through the Titantron. And then, we come to find out, it's not Jey, it's Jimmy. And I'm like, did Jey get his hair done or something? Because he has the braids. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second, that's Jimmy. I'm like a complete idiot. And I could tell the two apart, but I honestly thought it was Jey for a second. Otherwise, I was like, why else would he be wearing a mask? So Jey instead ambushes Roman from behind, goes after Roman. They stand tall over Roman. I mean, I thought that was really, really well done. I think they got the better of him, and they walk off, and the show's not over, though. And it's very rare that anyone gets the better of Roman, especially now that he's a dominant heel. I thought for his own cousin, Jey Uso, of all people, to stand tall over Roman, I thought was really cool. But that wasn't the end of the segment. Come to find out, again, I don't know if Jey is cleared or not, or Jimmy's cleared or not. He was hobbling around at the pay-per-view a month ago. He wasn't hobbling around here. So again, I don't know if he's cleared, but I guess we'll find out soon. So this is my understanding of the stipulation, from what Roman said here. If Roman wins, obviously if Jey wins, he becomes the Universal Champion, whatever, which we know he won't, nor should he, I don't think. If Roman wins, both Jey and Jimmy, and his brother Jimmy, must fall in line with Roman Reigns as the tribal chief. If he doesn't, they will be excommunicated from the Anoa'i family bloodline. I mean, about that second part, who fucking cares? I mean, honestly, if he's in the family, if he's out of the family, it's all in the family, who gives a shit? Who really cares about whether they're in the family or not? Which makes me believe that they're going to fall in line with Roman, right? Jey's not going to win the Universal Championship. They're not going to be excommunicated from the family. I mean, I'm not even really sure how that works, but is it just like you're banished from like the annual Christmas party at Roman Reigns' house? Like how do you manage that? You know what I mean? So obviously I think the only real outcome here is that Roman wins and they join Roman. They might be hesitant at first, but I think it's going to be like a Nikki and Brie situation from 5-6 years ago, which I fucking hated because I just thought that was the whole thing. The feud itself sucked. So it was like a complete waste of time. The feud has been great, so it's going to be worthwhile to get to that end result of Jey and Jimmy joining Roman, which they should have years ago. I mean, they had a little mini stable on Raw feuding with, what was it, the fucking League of Nations or something? And that was about it. And they were also feuding with the club for a little while, too, before the Usos went to SmackDown. So, I love this. I've been saying this for a while now. I know I'm not the only one. Jey and Jimmy have been doing, I mean, specifically Jey, obviously. Jimmy hasn't really been around. Jey's been doing great work as a babyface, but I think the end game of all, because when the feud's over, that Jey is going to be on fucking main event facing Tucker, like, and stuff like that. Maybe not main event, that's a Raw show, I guess. That's what the Raw roster. He won't even be on SmackDown, I guarantee you. The better outcome here is him losing and then joining Roman, and at some point, they all just go full-fledged heel. I mean, Roman kind of already is, but I'm talking about Jey and Jimmy. That Samoan SWAT team, and I even asked Jey about this about a month ago when I interviewed him before the pay-per-view, and he said he would love to see that happen. He even called it the Samoan SWAT team, I believe. He would love to see Jey, Jimmy, and Roman kind of team up as a heel Samoan faction, which would be fucking sick. That would be awesome. And I think that's where we're going with this, as they should. So I'm really happy with what we got here. I thought this was a great way to close out what was a very good episode of SmackDown. Even the Otis stuff I thought was decent. It exceeded my expectations, so I enjoyed this episode for what it was. The only thing I really didn't give a shit about, I'm looking at the show right now. I mean, I guess the Otis stuff I didn't love, but I at least was somewhat entertained by it. Belair made her debut. The opening tag team match and the stuff with Owens and Bryan was good. Bryan teased an interaction with Sami Zayn afterwards, so it looks like we might get the rekindling of that rivalry, because Bryan brought up what he mentioned on Talking Smack last week about how, he wants to see the IC title defended more regularly. So I think that's where we're going with that. We got Chad Gable back, which is probably my favorite part of the show. The Banks and Bayley stuff was very well done. The closing segment was very well done. Rollins and Murphy had a great match. So again, I can't really complain. I thought this was a very efficient episode of SmackDown, the exact polar opposite of what we got on Raw on Monday night. So we got the pay-per-view tomorrow, Hell in the Cell. I don't think I'll be watching live. So just keep that in mind. I don't think I'll be watching the pay-per-view live tomorrow. I think I'll be busy. But I will watch it at some point, either later on that night or early Monday morning, whatever. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, at least the SmackDown side of things, Raw has just been a complete mess. I really don't care about Drew and Orton again, to be completely honest with you. But the Miz and Otis, we got Otis and Miz was the end result of that lawsuit, by the way. And Miz wins on Sunday. He becomes Mr. Money in the Bank. I think Otis is going to win, but honestly, I think Miz should win. Because Otis is not going to cash in that thing successfully. I'm all over the place here. I don't think Otis is going to cash in that thing successfully. Again, maybe neither will Miz. But I would rather see... I can see Miz as a world champion, which he won't be. The guy has lost like every match he's had for the last 6 months now. I could see him cashing in successfully more than I could Otis. I'd rather see Miz win, but that's just me. So anyway, guys, that was my SmackDown review for Friday, October 24th, or rather 23rd. Today's the 24th, for 2020. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the videos. Be sure to like the video if you're listening here on YouTube. Like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content and whatnot. Be sure to check out the playlist down below for all my other SmackDown audio reviews here on the channel. WrestleRant.com has more thoughts as well on SmackDown in written form, so be sure to check that out. Enjoy Hell in the Cell on Sunday, guys. Check out my Talking Smack audio review, which should be up shortly after this video goes up. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.